Hello and welcome. My name is Alyssa. I am the EOX manager here at EO, and today I am joined by two very special guests that I'm really excited to talk to. I've been on the webinars previously with Ashley talking about our absolute love for Tanzania, and today I have Bob and Becky joining us here to talk about their recent trip. They actually went back in September as part of our Jubilee program. So welcome, Bob and Becky. I'm so glad you're here. I can't wait to talk to you about Tanzania. Can you guys tell us a little bit about yourself, your history with EO, and how much you've traveled?
Yes, we've traveled with EO since 1988.
Oh my!
Taken groups from our church and traveled as a family and individuals. So we've been to most of the countries that EO travels to, but we've not been in Africa other than in Egypt. So we really were excited about going to Tanzania.
But having traveled all over the world with EO on European tours many times, of course, to the Holy Lands and on travels of the Bible, to Norway and China and
oh my goodness.
Right, all kinds of
Argentina, Chile.
Y'all have been everywhere.
Exactly.
Yes.
But this trip was truly amazing and exceptional in so many ways. I knew we would see a lot. After all, you're going on a safari, but I was totally blown away by how many different types of animals we saw and how close we were to so many of the animals.
So what was it like traveling in Tanzania? It's very different from like a standard land tour that EO offers. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, everybody was traveling in Land Cruisers with 6 or 7 seats in it, the top raised so you could stand up and look. For the most part, we were on either asphalt roads or sandy roads with kind of a corrugated bumpity bump travel. And we spent maybe 3 or 4 hours in the morning and a couple hours in the afternoon traveling. So there was no downtime. We were busy seeing animals the whole time.
And very little walking. This is not where you're going to get much exercise. Most of it's sitting, but oh my, you get to see so much. The guide knows so much. And it's a really wonderful experience with 5 other people. Everybody has their own plug-in. You can recharge your phone while you're driving along. There's plenty of water. There's a freezer chest with unlimited amount of water to drink. So, you, no matter what the plans are, we were always late getting back because we would head back and think, oh, we're going to make it to lunch by 1 today. And then, of course, a herd of wildebeest would be surrounding the vehicle from the front and the back. And there would be 1,000 wildebeest galloping in front of you. And it's like, oh, well, we just have to celebrate the fact that not many times in your life are you stopped in traffic by wildebeest.
In each of the 3 national parks that we visited, we had to stop and wait while a herd of elephants walked around both sides of our vehicle. One of the things that a friend of mine said, why are you going all that way to visit a zoo? And the answer is precisely because it's not a zoo.
Exactly.
We got to watch the interactions of the animals and see their actual behavior in the wild. And that's a totally different experience than observing them in a zoo-like setting.
And I know one of the things that I was really surprised by is, I expected to see like a group of zebra or a group of giraffe or a group of elephants, which we did. But in the same gathering, you would also see dik-diks and hartebeest and Grant's gazelles and warthogs and all together. Now, you wouldn't see the lions in there with the mechs, but you could sit there and watch maybe 25 different type of animals in peace together, just enjoying the Serengeti and eating a little bit of grass.
But over in the distance, you'd see some hyenas or maybe a lion observing them. So the interaction was what was fascinating.
And birds. Anybody that is a bird watcher should absolutely go to Tanzania. Lots of birds I'd never heard of before, little green ones and blue ones and red and pink, and you could see them building their nests. And anybody who was really interested in birds. What was that?
There's a bustard, which is the largest flying bird in the world. And we kept seeing him. He wasn't particularly pretty, but he sure was big.
But we've mentioned about the animals, but what we haven't mentioned at all is the people. Oh my, the people are so loving and friendly. And it's a totally different culture than here. But I
Hmm.
especially enjoyed our visit to the Maasai tribe village and being able to see their schoolhouse and their children. And each group of four on our bus got to visit a different household.
Hmm.
And the households were more like huts,
Yeah.
They were mud huts
mud huts,
with thatch
very,
roofs.
very small. And here people have almost nothing. And obviously, and for them, both the land and taking care of the animals is sacred. And
Right.
yet they are so happy and loving with each other. It is certainly a lesson to be learned by us Americans who have so much junk we have to constantly simplify and try to go through
Hmm.
and get rid of stuff.
One of the things that struck me, and it was a cultural and maybe almost a spiritual experience, was watching probably a 6-year-old boy herding 50 or 60 goats that were his family's wealth, and there was no other human being in sight. He was responsible as a 6-year-old for this huge herd of goats and
Wow.
out in the wilderness. It both made me aware of the biblical stories of shepherds in the fields, and also of how perhaps we underestimate what our children's ability is in taking responsibility.
That's very interesting. I didn't think about that. So
I know some
go ahead.
I know some people had asked me, they said, "Oh, you're going to go clamping." I said, "No, no, no. This was
Glamping,
glamping.
Glamping.
This was not glamping. It was not camping. The motels were luxury and the food was outstanding. Typically buffets at breakfast and at lunch. And then in the evening, sometimes a buffet for at least part of it, but many times you just order off the menu and you could order anything you wanted. The food was excellent
Hmm.
and the service was outstanding.
The motels are actually embedded in the national parks. You
Hmm.
don't drive to the park, you are living in the park, and there are no fences or walls around it. So the animals are interacting with you. You get up in the morning, there are elephant droppings outside our door.
And in most of the time, you have your own private balcony. And I know I went swimming and was talking to one of the attendants there that was working. He said, "Oh yes," he said, "last night we had a giraffe wander through and drink from the pool." I thought that was so cool. I would have loved to kind of go swimming while the giraffe. We also, someone in our group fixed themselves a cup of tea in their room. You know, the little
Hmm.
place where you can heat up water and so on. And they failed to close their window. And of course, a monkey jumped through and stole a little packet. Then he jumped back out with his little packet of creamer. But they had told us to keep our windows closed. And this was, there was a reason for this. But most of the monkeys had little babies either on their backs or on their stomachs. It was just really, really sweet. You had to step around the monkeys as you were walking to the dining room.
Really appreciate you guys talking about your experience with the hotels, though. One thing that's really fascinating about Tanzania, and I'm so sorry you guys didn't get this experience, but there is varying levels of accommodations in Tanzania. So you
Mm-hmm.
guys got the
Mm-hmm.
lodge experience. Definitely
Yes,
the nicest of the bunch,
Yeah.
they
The
were very
experience
nice.
Ashley and I had were actually in the tented camps. So when you're talking about the
Oh,
animals like coming up to the lodge and stuff, that was very
Mhm.
much so the experience for us as well, which
I'll
was
bet.
really neat. And the staff at the camps would have to walk us back to our room at night just in case an
Yeah.
They
animal
had to do
came
that for
up.
us
We're like,
too.
this is
Even in the
so
lodge, you had to,
cool.
had to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
love
great.
Yeah,
that.
Becky asked one of the guards. She said, "Well, are there animals here?" And he said, "Well, last night there was a leopard right where you're standing."
I thought that was kind of cool. But of course, you don't venture out at 2 a.m. taking a wandering in the middle of the Serengeti. This is just not wise. You're totally safe the
Hmm.
whole time. There's never a moment of fear.
Right.
Because even when you're watching the lions, obviously these animals in all the parks have been accustomed to the vehicles and the people
Exactly.
They don't. They don't.
watching them. So
They don't even notice you're
yeah, they're
there.
just,
So you have given so much information about Tanzania and how incredible it is. What is the one reason why you would say you have to go to Tanzania?
Let me mention Olduvai Gorge. Um, Olduvai is a site of archaeology and paleontology, which traces our roots as humans back millions of years. And it was a moving experience to me And as a Christian, I can appreciate the if you will, effort God has put into creating us.
Mm-hmm.
And standing there at Olduvai Gorge, where footprints of early humans have been found, was truly moving to me. And I think a number of the people in our group said that that was one of the highlights of the trip, was going to Olduvai Gorge.
Interesting. So how do you
Yeah,
think that this journey will impact your ministry going forward?
I wouldn't say it's a direct relationship to ministry, but it deepens my understanding of God's creation. It enables me to have a better relationship with the people I travel with.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me do some soul searching about my own lifestyle in relation to people who are living in a very simple and what some would say impoverished condition, because they didn't act impoverished.
Yeah. I think I said on the last webinar when I talked about Tanzania, I'm sorry, Turkey and all these other countries that have always said the best hospitality. No, Tanzania has you beat. Like the people there were just incredible. I would love, love, love to go back and see them again. Thank you so much, Bob and Becky, for joining us today and all of your insight about your journey.
Thank you.